This video is on drugs, as am I. Today we will be once again talking about Irish law and the time that drugs were erroneously made legal for a single day in 2015. You may have heard of the term head shop before, which is a legal business that sells drug paraphernalia. Bongs, pipes, grinders, that sort of thing. And in certain parts of the world, particularly Europe, there also exists smart shops, which sell psychoactive substances known as legal highs. The two terms are often used interchangeably, and I'll just be calling them all head shops as most people here do, although it is technically incorrect. Head shops used to be legal in Ireland, where you could buy these legal highs, which are essentially alternatives to illegal drugs. They're marketed as incense or bath salts or whatever, but basically you smoke it or you snort it, and it's intended to mimic the effects of weed or cocaine or ecstasy or whatever. However, seeing an opportunity to impose their will on the people of Ireland, the government banned legal highs and closed head shops in 2010.
So no head?
Take off these glasses as a show of respect. They did this by essentially turning the drugs blacklist into a whitelist. So basically you cannot sell or advertise or import any psychoactive substance that is not on the list. So alcohol and medicines are on the list, for example. That's pretty strict for a European country. So why in God's name did they legalize drugs for an entire day? That sounds like the purge. Well, it was an accident. Well, it wasn't really an accident. They did it on purpose, sort of. It's a legal thing. In 1977, we had the Misuse of Drugs Act, which provides the Minister for Health the powers to make regulations regarding what are illegal substances. Okay, great. However, in 2015, the Irish Court of Appeal found the Act to be unconstitutional. At some point, something had been added to the Act without consulting the Irish Parliament or something like that. So now the whole thing was invalid. This meant that any drugs made illegal by the powers of that Act were now not illegal. Of course, the then Minister for Health, Leo Varadkar, who is now the country's leader, was waiting for the Court of Appeal to come to a conclusion and had emergency legislation done up just in case they reached this decision. His legislation basically restored the status quo and saved Ireland from the inevitable chaos and downfall of civilization as we know it. But the legislation could only come into effect the day after it was signed, so there was a 24-hour period in which the 1977 Misuse of Drugs Act was invalid and the new legislation was not yet in place. So for a single day in 2015, all the head shop drugs, legal. Ecstasy, legal. Crystal meth, legal. Over 100 drugs were legal for that day. Well, you still couldn't sell or supply psychoactive substances as that whitelist was unaffected, but you could possess for personal use. It was a pretty big day for drug use. I doubt many people try drugs for the first time because of this. I mean, if you're going to do drugs, you're going to do drugs, and if it's not for you, then it's just not for you. I don't think many people really give a shit about the law when it comes to that decision. But regardless, many people went out and celebrated, you know, for the meme. How many people can say that they took ecstasy legally? Notable exceptions from the list of legal drugs included cannabis, cocaine, and heroin. You still couldn't smoke weed. You could do meth, but you couldn't smoke weed. To be fair, meth isn't really a thing here. Heroin is no great loss. I mean, all drugs being legal for a day is probably not going to persuade anybody that they should go out and try black tar heroin to see what it's like. You may be wondering, what about all the people with convictions for those drugs? I mean, they were found in breach of a law that was ruled unconstitutional. So what happened to them? Nothing. As far as I can tell, nobody ever pressed this issue. Now, I'm sure there's a reason why. I'm not legally literate, so I don't know. But what I do know is I'd be calling up my solicitor. Being locked up for an unconstitutional law, that sounds like compensation to me. To be fair, I would imagine there's very few people convicted for possession for personal use in Ireland, you know, versus distribution or trafficking. Those are the guys they go after. I know in America it seems like they try to get you with anything that they can because of the way that the prison system works over there, but over here, throwing somebody in jail for smoking a joint or taking ecstasy doesn't really help anybody, so it's not that common. So that's the story. Thank you all for tuning in. And remember, it's not illegal if you don't get caught. Actually, maybe I shouldn't be saying things like that. And remember, the government is always right. And quickly, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. In my last video, I announced that I would be doing YouTube full time, and I gave various different ways to support me, whether subscribing to my second channel, that's Cukes2, or buying merch, or subscribing to me, or donating to me on Patreon, whatever. People have done that in large numbers, and it's very impressive to see, to be honest, that the numbers have just shot up since I made that video, and I'm very, very thankful. So thank you to everybody who has contributed or helped me or in any way, or just watches the videos. Just thank you very much. It really helps.